Hi, in this video we're going to see how you add fractions with unlike denominators. Let's do 1/2 plus 1/3, where the denominators are different. So the first step is to find a common denominator. That's a number that 2 will go into, that 3 will also go into. And it helps if I think about multiples here. So I could start thinking of multiples of 3, and well, 3 doesn't work for 2. So I would go on to the next multiple of 3, which is 6, and 6 does work for 2, so I can go ahead and use that as my common denominator. Now I'll set up two new fractions with 6 as the denominator for both fractions. Now that we have these set up, our next step is to use links to complete the equivalent of fractions. You always want to complete one pair at a time. So from 2 to 6, the link is times 3. I can use that same link to find the numerator of this fraction, which would be 3, because 1 times 3 is 3. When I do the second pair of equivalent fractions, I find that my link between the denominators is times 2. So I can use that same link to find the new numerator, which will be 2. Now I can add my numerators and keep the same denominator. So 3 plus 2 gives me 5. And I keep my denominator of 6, I've got my answer 5/6. Let's do a new problem. This time let's try 1/6 plus 3/8. Our denominators are different, so our first step is to find a common denominator. Let's think multiples of 8. 8 doesn't work for 6. And neither does 16. Let's go on. 24 does work for 6, so it can be our common denominator. So now we can set up our new fractions using 24 as the common denominator. Now let's use links to complete the equivalent fractions. Remember, we do one pair at a time. So from 6 to 24, the link is times 4, and I'll use that same link to get my new numerator. Let's go on and do the second pair of fractions, 3/8 and however many 24ths. The link from 8 to 24 is times 3, so I can find my new numerator by using the same link. 3 times 3 is 9. Now I can add my numerators and keep the same denominator. 4 plus 9 is 13, and I keep my same denominator of 24. So the answer is 13/24. Let's do one last problem. This time I'll do 1/5 plus 3/10. Okay, again, our denominators are different, so the first step is to find a common denominator. And I'm thinking about multiples, but right away I see that 10 is going to work for 5. So I can set up my new fractions and put my common denominator of 10. Now I'm going to use my links to complete the equivalent fractions. From 5 to 10, the link is 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. 1/5 is the same as 2/10. Now 3/10 is going to stay the same as 3/10. Now I can add my numerators and keep the same denominator. 2 plus 3 is 5. And I keep my denominator of 10. This fraction can be simplified. So if you can simplify your answer, you should always do so. 5/10 simplifies to 1/2. So the answer of 5/10 is correct, but it's not finished. The answer 1/2 is much better. It's the simplified answer. And that's how you add fractions with unlike denominators.